Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sure it's the most difficult task to sit here in a session, that to a panel discussion after a lovely lunch that you all would have enjoyed. But welcome to this session on the MSME panel that we are having. Basically a panel discussion. And let me first take this opportunity to congratulate the entire team at the Indian Technology Congress 2013. It's an event that I think all engineers, technologists, and the Bangaloreans per se, and I'm sure across the country, look forward to. An event of great honor and prestige for the city of Bangalore, and something which we all look forward every year as more and more papers keep coming forward, and there's a lot of opportunity for discussions and dialogue during this entire 2.5 day session. Let me briefly to introduce myself. I'm an entrepreneur for the past 28 years. I've been running a business in the SME sector. I run a company called High-Tech Magnetics and Electronics Private Limited. We manufacture transformers and coils for industrial and electronic application. Quite often transformers, people tend to think of the ones for electrical application, but what I manufacture is very customized for the industrial and the electronic printed circuit board application. Been in business for many years, also been a social entrepreneur for over 20 years, been part of many organizations. I've headed organizations. One is CLIC, the Consortium of Electronic Industries of Karnataka. And wearing the hat of a woman entrepreneur, can't be left far behind. So I'm also headed two other women entrepreneurs organizations. One is Awake, which is very well known, called the Association of Women Entrepreneurs of Karnataka. And the other one is recent as 5 years ago, founded another organization called Emerge for Women in Engineering, Technology and Business. So that's a brief a profile about myself. I'm from UVCE, from the electrical engineering sector. Let me come to this discussion on the MSME panels, and I believe that being a SME, it's sometimes very nice to remain small, because then you're in the control of things. You're able to run a business, and especially when I started my business way back in the 80s, especially during the license Raj times. It was basically a time where it took me about 1 year. I started my business while I was in my final year of engineering. I studied in UVC just next door to the Department of Industries and Commerce. Took 9 months of follow-up every day to the Department of Industries and Commerce office to get my license, to set up my business. That was how it was in good old days. It's much easier. You can go online, you can register. So right now we have an ecosystem that supports enterprise development. If you really talk about it, probably, if you say worldwide, country-wise, India doesn't stand very good in ease of doing business. But yes, we've come a long way from the 80s to now. But there is a larger need for a ecosystem that supports enterprise development. And we have a host of dignitaries here who cut across. We have Mr. Arun Bharadwaj, who's basically a technologist. We have Mr. Sanjay Tyagi from STPI, which is gives you an environment or a zone which promotes IT development. We have Mr. Jamkhandi, who is from Director of the Micro, Small and Medium Enterprise Government of India, from the Ministry of MSME Government of India. And they have a large number of schemes from the National Manufacturing Competitiveness Program, which supports enterprise development. And we have none other than Mr. Satyanandan from SIDBI, who we need. I mean, if you're talking about business, you talk about money. You need finance. You need finance to set up your enterprise. None other than the general manager of SIDBI, the Small Industries Development Bank of India, which was actually started to support enterprises in the MSME sector. So we're going to have a great host of speakers who are actually going to talk to you about the various schemes and the various support mechanisms that are there in each of these sectors, which will actually provide us an ecosystem for us to set up an enterprise. That apart, I also felt that there was another role of an organization that can actually support enterprise development, and that's the role of associations, or you call them business development organizations or BDOs. These organizations are actually run, you have the chambers of commerce, you have, in Karnataka, you have the Karnataka Association for Small Scale Industries, you have the Federation of the Karnataka Chambers of Commerce and Industry, you have organizations like the Institute of Engineers, and you also have sector-specific associations which actually then are able to support you in your specific enterprise. Quite often say, what is the use of being part of these associations? There is, I believe that there are many support mechanisms or support systems in being part of these organizations. One, for example, and I believe is one which is most important to any enterprise development, is networking. It gives you an opportunity to network, it gives you an opportunity to be with your peers, gives you an opportunity to actually find your own customers and sellers. Quite often you keep thinking it's just customers that you're looking for. As business gets more and more competitive, you're looking for better suppliers. And I think that's something very, very important. You want suppliers not necessarily from Korea and China, but also from India if they're as competitive as any other global supplier. So you're always looking for, sometimes it's very interesting to see that, there are many, many suppliers who we have no idea of. They're not there on your LinkedIn page or Facebook page, nor do they have a website, but they come out with some of the best kind of, products, especially when you're looking at turn components or, some machine components. Some excellent products, and they're run by very, very small companies. They're not on any of these. It's very important that you get to know them. And some of these people you meet in these kind of associations. They might be small suppliers, but then they are the right supplier to your products. It also gives you an opportunity to understand the various schemes. The many policies that are happening in the government, whether at the state and the center, quite often we in our own enterprises tend to forget about what's happening and, in these policy changes that are happening. It's also very nice that, government actually sends out these circulars to these associations. Associations invariably send it out. Gives you an opportunity to discuss, to represent your case, because more and more statutory requirements, whether it's the commercial taxes, whether it's the central excise, there's so many challenges on an everyday. There is a change, there is a discussion, there is a point, and it's very nice to be at a place where you can actually discuss with other enterprise members in the SME sector and say, I also have the similar challenge. How do we do it, and can we face this problem together? And also quite often associations themselves are representatives in any of these. If you say the Central Excise has what is called the Regional Advisory Committee. This Regional Advisory Committee keeps meeting once every quarter. And when we put up our problem, and any of us as SME members have issues, we actually take it up to our association. Association in turn represents our case there. Then what happens, there's a larger hearing, there's a larger I would say credibility attached to the case that you have actually submitted. So quite often these are good locations where you actually have an opportunity as an enterprise to represent a case that you have. You're actually heard in most of these cases. There's another area that I believe that industry per se is going, and that's where the future is. And this is what I would like to submit. More and more industry is very difficult for us as enterprises to be successful in our own small enterprise. We need to join hands with other similar cluster members or similar enterprises to bring out products. In terms of being able to deliver the required quantities, in terms of being able to deliver the required quality, and in terms of being able to have the necessary testing facilities for delivering that finished product. Quite often, each of us have our own core strength. For example, if I have to give I'm very good in manufacturing my component, but if I have to give a finished product of an electronic sub-module, it would not be possible for me to do it alone. It would be very nice if I can partner with another 5-6 companies, somebody who is a PCB manufacturer, somebody who is probably an assembler who has a pick and place machine with SMT line set up, and I with my transformer, and somebody else who has a sheet metal manufacturing setup. And then there's somebody else who has an entire testing facility probably. If we all join together, we're probably able to give a better product at a more competitive price. And that is what we believe is called a cluster. And at Click, we have now recently formed an ESDM cluster to keep within the focus of electronic systems design and manufacturing. We've recently formed this cluster. We already have 39 members who have come together. And what we are trying to do is, not only are we forming a cluster, and the idea is we plan to have about 630 cluster members and in a specific location. But what's the advantage is that we are trying to have a common facility center, which is actually being supported by the state and the central government. The central government will provide us with all the equipments that are required for probably a calibration center, which is part of this common facility center. If you know in electronics or in any of the companies that you have products, you have to have your equipments calibrated every month. So very important, every year, once every year, all your test instruments have to go through a calibration process. So if you have a calibration set up within an association, then yes, you will be more competitive vis-a-vis any private calibration center that is able to provide its services. The second thing is that there are test equipments which you cannot probably invest in for a one-time investment. You know, if you're probably producing a transformer which has to go through a very high voltage test, you cannot afford to buy that entire test equipment and have it within your own company for a product that will be tested probably once in a year. So if you have it in a common facility center, then there is an opportunity for about, out of the 630 companies, for 10 companies to make use of the same services, and it is part of this common facility center. So what Click plans to have is a calibration center. Under this common facility center umbrella, we plan to have a testing center. Then the third most important thing that we want to have is an incubation center for students to be part of this incubation center. With the students, it's an opportunity for them to have design and develop their products in this incubation center. And with the support of some of the industry members who can act as mentors, can be able to incubate out with their own product and then set up their own business, or probably decide to sell it to any other industrialist. So that's an incubation center. And an R&D test center, where a research and development center where students can come do their research along for probably for even incremental technologies which SMEs probably do not have any R&D set up within their own company. In addition, there would be a training center, a skill development center, and these are small facilities, probably a packaging center that is required for the electronic sector. So this is something which the CLIC, the Consortium of Electronic Industries of Karnataka, is planning. We are right now working on a project where we can set up this ESDM cluster so that it is advantageous to both the potential students who are going to be entrepreneurs in the future and the present SME entrepreneurs who can make use of this facility. I think there are many other events that organizations like CLIC take up, and so would all other sector-specific associations. One such I would just like to mention as a last point is we use the International Cooperation Scheme of Government of India. That's an excellent scheme which most of our members have been utilizing it. SMEs, we find it very difficult to market our products, travel abroad, invest and go there not knowing what the business is going to be or the business potential is. There's an excellent scheme of the government where they actually support an SME participation in an international convention. That would they actually take care of about nearly 75% of your travel cost and your stall cost of participating in an international trade fair. So if you have some excellent products to display, and if you want to be in that particular fair in Hanover or in Munich, in electronic or any of these events, there is a scheme of the Government of India where you can actually participate and then come back and take a reimbursement. And this is done through an association, so you can choose to do it with any association. Many of our members have been able to participate in events like Titronics. We've been able to participate in the Electronica Productronica Fair in Munich or in Hanover Fair. And we do one program of called the Export Coaching Program along with CBI Netherlands, which actually supports an entrepreneur in the SME sector to actually go about setting up an enterprise and export to European countries. So there are various advantages, which is what I feel that when you're part of an association or when you're part of a cluster group, it can be any group, there is an opportunity to learn from each other. There is also that peer pressure to grow. You want to keep showing to your colleagues that you're also growing. Otherwise, quite often when you're your own small enterprise, you're quite satisfied, you're very busy with your day-to-day activities, but it's only when you're part of this kind of stream, then you want to say, yes, I have to do something more. And there's always an opportunity to learn about new technologies, and you understand, you say, okay, now this is where I'm going, I need to go somewhere else. And that kind of feeling comes when you're part of such peer groups. So I think with these few words and with the host of panelists that you have with a lot of experience from each of the sectors that they are experts in, I would welcome you to this MSME panel. We'll have an open discussion as we go along. And I will just like to sign off by saying, you see things as they are and ask why. But I, as an entrepreneur, would dream of things that never were and ask why not. So it's that why not that keeps us going. Thank you so much.